Hey, this is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kringen, Seattle, and it is August 17th, 2024. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of being interviewed on a podcast. I think, as many of you know, I'm kind of a very insecure person in some ways, and yet I have self-confidence in other ways, and I'm working on that. I'm trying to heal and grow and learn. I had a really amazing time being interviewed for a podcast yesterday called Something Rather Than Nothing. I'm going to read what the description is on their website. I was really happy to be referred to by a friend. Let's see. And I'm trying to find the description. It was a discussion about my art and kind of my philosophy about what I do. The podcast is called Something Rather Than Nothing. Why is there something rather than nothing? This podcast is a philosophical and psychological exploration into the act of creation by poets, musicians, writers, dancers, sculptors, painters, thinkers, all of us. So I was very happy that my friend referred me to them, and we talked for an hour, and that's going to be published sometime by Labor Day, later in September of 2024. And I wanted to say that the wonderful River Circus, Jason Webley is a local musician that I really love the music of and the art of, and I recently gave him my poetry book, Kringonian Pizzazz, and signed it for him. And I've been following Jason Webley for over 20 years. I saw him in 1999 at the Folklife Festival, or maybe 98 even. Uh, and apparently I worked at Kinko's with one of his roommates in the 90s, and I didn't know that. And there's some synchronicity and serendipity involving Jason Webley. Some of the people he's worked with, apparently he met because of something I said, and I don't remember what that was, but that's kind of like amazing synchronicity, magical. Like, I always love hearing about the serendipity and synchronicity that brings people together creatively. And River Circus, if you know anybody that lives near the Ohio River, they are doing several gigs on the Ohio River, and they started August 16th, 2024. And if you go to rivercircus.com, you can see all the dates. It's basically a free show that's right on the Ohio River, and they are magical performers on a river circus boat, kind of like Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, like bringing humans together in a creative, artistic way. It's very inspirational. It's music, it's comedy, it's acrobatic, trapeze art. They're just beautiful performers, and I really admire what they're doing. And it spreads positive energy, creative, positive, inspirational energy. Reminds me of Peter Pan and Willy Wonka and Pippi Longstockings and all that kind of stuff. So it's very inspirational. Rivercircus.com is their website. I told Jason Webley I would spread the word, and he's happy about that. He wants people. So if you know anybody that lives near the Ohio River in all the different states, um, and I've been taking full body selfies in my Kring bodysuit with my um, excuse me while I itch my nose. um, my art car, and my bodysuit, and I'm going to go to creative writing. I feel like my energy is all over the map right now. Like, I'm going to do creative writing. Yesterday in the podcast, we talked about my art car, my art modeling. I used to dance at the Lusty Lady, in my 20s. Now I'm in my 50s. In the 90s, I studied graphic design. So we talked about painting, photography, poetry, music, acting, a little bit of acting. And then yesterday, okay, I was going to say that I lost my cool yesterday. I wrote a song called Polarized Landscape, Debate Escape, Polarized Landscape, sponsored by fill in the blank. Shut the gate, stop the tape, jump in a cool, refreshing lake. And I have a bunch of rhymes that go on after that, because of the distressing feeling of psychological warfare that I feel in terms of we're supposed to think certain famous people on TV are heroes and certain famous people on TV are villains. And yet life is really not like a cartoon. And the whole lesser of two evils thing is kind of an idea that I'm not really satisfied with. So let's just say that I lost my cool yesterday uh, when somebody said something that I felt like reinforced the whole polarization factor. But the thing is, if you talk to people about it, they just get upset. And then I got upset, and then they got upset. And then I erased everything that I said that was upsetting. Actually, I think she erased some of my comments, which was fine with me because I kind of lost my temper. And that's all been erased now. And then I apologized. I'm not sorry for having a controversial point of view, but I'm sorry for losing my cool. And I'm learning to have more compassion for people who have this romantic idea. Like I'm learning to have self-compassion, but I'm also for my own ideas that I've sometimes been ostracized for having unorthodox ideas. And I'm learning to have compassion for people who like to conform and join a team. Humans like to feel like they belong to a group. My way of belonging to a group, I wrote another song called Oxymorons Through the Door, a group for loners, and they all showed up, meaning I like groups where people's individuality is appreciated. Instead of thinking you must conform and everyone must agree on whatever ideas there are for politics or food or fashion or the way you like the different ways in which people judge each other for having different opinions, and the fact that we seem to have lost our ability to agree to disagree or debate with people. I don't mean debate like try to win a contest. I mean just go, oh, I feel this way. Oh, well, I feel this way. And then going, we feel totally different, and not having to convince each other or defend our right to exist. Like the way I feel is I don't feel like I go around trying to convince people to agree with me. I feel like maybe I do though, go around and I try to wish that people would acknowledge the hypocrisy of what's happening. Like sometimes people criticize other people for being jerks and then they proceed to be jerks themselves. And so I wish people would like look at their own shadow. But then I realize I need to look at my own shadow as well. I don't want to be a hypocrite, but nobody's perfect. So I wrote this like abstract essay about current times. More than two sides, coins see through the illusion of duality, the human psychological need of wanting to feel safe and trusting authority and hope for ethics. The romantic idea, actors, rock stars, politicians on stage, projecting to the public, fantasies of heroes and villains, the psychological warfare mixed with the psychological human fragility, frailty, whatever you want to call it, where people want to think they can trust authority figures and logic goes out the window, and people just attach to a symbol, a facade, a blind spot to what is being the facade. Who's pulling the strings behind the scenes, as they say, many green screens? Humans arguing about what is true, what is false, grasping to whatever idea they have, they think they can trust in defending it no matter what, and me figuring out what kind of ripple effect I want to give and receive with other fellow human beings on this planet. And I'm feeling very thankful for plants and animals and nature that have nothing to do with all the complicated human games that people are playing with each other, the tricks and the smoke and mirrors, the illusions, confusions, delusions, fellow humans shaming each other for having differing views and virtue signaling and triggering people's anger and fear and stress and people's urge to conform and be cheerleaders for puppets that supposedly represent the public, yet nothing could be farther from the truth, perhaps. The emperor's clothing sure is up for debate. And perhaps, and when I say debate, I spell it like debate, debate, but I also spell it like debate, debait, like fish bait, like you're fishing for something and you're not really necessarily going to get what you're fishing for. So debate that. Double entendre, and yet nothing can be farther from the truth. Emperor's okay. Perhaps building sandcastles on thin air, waiting for the windstorm, but pretending like there's no windstorm coming. People belittling each other's intelligence and accusing each other of being this or being that so they can feel safe, they can feel better, they can feel more intelligent and superior. And 2024, this is what I'm noticing. People trying to convince each other to join their team, groupthink, humans assuming that freedom is now dangerous, assuming that if people are given freedom, they will definitely abuse their freedom. Some people do abuse freedom, but some people don't. If we have freedom taken away from us, people are afraid of totalitarianism and fascism, and yet sometimes people have a blind eye to, if you allow authority figures to take your freedom away to protect yourself, perhaps we're heading in the direction of a certain kind of oppressive, restrictive way of being. So perhaps we're being tricked in that way. So who's to say who is the villain and who is the hero? And perhaps nobody is really a total villain or a total hero anyway. That's kind of a cartoon version of reality. Um, So let's see. Freedom is dangerous. Some people think freedom is now dangerous because you do see some people do abuse their freedom or have too much power. But then who's to say if you trust the authority figures that are taking away your freedom, that's a little scary to think that who can we really trust? I can see why people are so stressed out, though, including me feeling like I'm not really sure, and I can't pretend to know for sure that I think I can trust certain things. See, I'm being really vague intentionally because um, I don't want to be ostracized, but I guess I already am kind of ostracized. I've always felt kind of like an outsider anyway. And my way of feeling like I belong is to do my artwork and express my individuality with my art car, my art modeling, my creativity, my music. So they're telling us we need to be protected and turning a blind eye to the authority that's telling us they're going to save us from the blah, blah, blah. More than two sides to this coin, seeing through the illusion of duality, graduate to neutrality, equanimous, exploration, vantage points, on point, outside this joint, individual fractal patterns we are together in this soup, every particle particular. So that's kind of an abstract poem that I wrote today that might be turned into a song. There are many, many different songs and lyrics that I've written, and um, so I feel like I want every human creates a ripple effect. And if we join a club and conform to a certain way of seeing reality, we help build and reinforce that. And I'm not comfortable with the duality. I'm not comfortable joining the A or the B of the current duality in a certain way. I don't feel that doesn't feel real to me. That feels fake to me. That feels not authentic. It feels not at all democratic and not at all ethical and not at all something that I want to do. And I will not be virtue signal and shamed into thinking that I have to pick an A or a B. And this is in regards to certain political things happening in the United States, but it's also about certain things happening in other countries where there's an A and a B. I'm noticing a pattern of humans who think that it's just between A and B. A wants to dominate B or B wants to dominate A. One side is considered the underdog, one side is considered the the more powerful. I mean, there's literally reality of some people have a lot of money and some people don't have money. So you could say that the person with the more money has more power. I mean, that is how it works, especially in the United States. It's money is power. The more wealthy you are, the more airtime you can buy. Um, so there are certain ethical issues and conflicts of interest, and there are people who think you have to choose A or B, and you're not allowed to point out the hypocrisy or point out see, when I express my unusual views, I feel like I attract people who want to belittle me and tell me I've been told that I'm clueless. I've been told that I'm misinformed and clueless. I think that's a very condescending way to treat me, and I don't know how to stand up for the right to question the duality, to question the A versus B, and thinking that you can only think A or B. You're not allowed to rise above that and see the human conflicts and the absurdity of humans that think you have to conform to A or B. But then me saying this is a contradiction because here I am conflicted. I am expressing my frustration with the conflicts that people have and wanting to see it from a more philosophical point of view, a more um, my dad is very diplomatic, and my mom is into Eastern philosophy, Advaita Vedanta, non-duality, and being basically more conscious as a human of your individual and your collective. Like there's the collective human race, and then there's the individual humans, and how each human decides to create whatever ripple effect we're going to create. Whether people realize it or not, their individual ripple has an effect. So if you have like 100,000 people saying A and 100,000 people saying B, there could also be another 100,000 people that are saying, hey, wait a minute, I want to go beyond the A and the B. I want to go to the C or the D, or how about all the way to Z? The A, the B, the C, the D, all the way to Z. There's kind of another poem I could write about that, about how you can see something from a higher consciousness to go beyond the duality of what humans are doing. But the thing is, the people with the money and the power are going to do whatever they want to do. I personally can't really do anything about that. So I feel like regular people feel kind of powerless to do anything about the conflicts in the world that should be solved by the powerful people. But if we're waiting for powerful people to rescue us and save us, that's really not going to work. So that's kind of how I feel right now. Like it is very uncomfortable feeling like I don't really trust certain authorities. I don't really trust the A or the B. And in fact, the A and the B seem very similar to me to each other. It's people competing with each other and feeling like one is superior and one is inferior. And if there's anything positive about the A or the B will not look at anything positive. Each side blames the other. It's kind of like similar to my childhood when my parents divorced when I was 4. I was the messenger between each of my parents. And my parents, in some ways, are very lovely humans. I love both of them very much. But I knew as a little kid what my mom didn't like about my dad and what my dad didn't like about my mom. And I realized there was contradictions. Like my dad had some way of seeing reality and different ways of living his life. My mom had a totally different way of seeing reality and living her life. And as a little kid, I remember thinking, mommy does it this way, daddy does it this way. What is Shannon? What is Shanny? There's mommy, daddy, and Shanny. Shanny Panny Boopy Doopy Freaky Deaky. So how does Shannon Kringen want to do things? Instead of just the mom or the dad, there's the Shannon, there's the self, there's the, I wonder how many children of divorce feel this way. I know somebody who is divorced and they have an 11-year-old son, and they are raising him with no drama. They are raising him. He gets to be with his mom for a week and then his dad for a week, and he's not having drama with his parents. And it's nice that his mom and dad have very different ways of doing things, and he gets to live in both environments back and forth. I think it's going to make him grow up to be a very dynamic person, hopefully without a lot of conflict in his own mind about his mom does it this way, his dad does it this way, and he can do it whatever way he wants because he's an individual. So perhaps I need to make sure that I realize that I have the right to see when I'm around other people that do the groupthink thing and that conform to the A or the B, and that they tell me that I have to pick a side. You have to pick a side. Are you A or B? And I'm like, I'm neither. I'm neither. There are some people like me who choose to go beyond the duality and pick neither. I pick the C to the Z, all the way to Z. How about that? How about all the way to Z, meaning our system does not really work the way it is right now. The conflict that humans have with each other are not being resolved. So I have to figure out as an individual human, because I don't feel jiggy with joining a group and wanting to push in that way. I guess if I had to join a group, it would be a group for people who are free thinkers and outsiders, basically, think outside the box and come from a different philosophy. The power that I have as an individual living here in Seattle is I choose where I spend my money. I choose how I spend my money. I choose how I spend my time. I choose what I feed my brain with. I choose what kind of media that I watch. I mostly choose not to watch a lot of television. I choose to not watch a lot of commercials. I choose to not allow myself to be bombarded with things that I think are like the equivalent of eating junk food. I like to eat healthy and exercise, get enough sleep, get enough hydration. And so that would include feeding my brain with inspirational information. If I obsess about all the horrific things happening on the planet that I can't solve, I don't think that's going to help the world solve its problems. If I get really sick to my stomach and nauseous about the horrible things that humans do to each other that have zero ethics, where the A blames the B or the B blames the A, and they proceed to harm each other. It is very distressing and very alarming. And I'm trying to figure out as an individual what I can do. As Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. Okay, I can create a ripple effect here in Seattle. I can spread positive energy with my art. I can spread positive energy with having compassion and forgiving people who are mean to me, who belittle me and tell me I'm clueless and don't seem to have respect for my intelligent point. I think I have an intelligent point of view. It's okay if somebody thinks I'm not intelligent, but it's not okay for them to belittle me and make fun of me or virtue signal and shame me into thinking I have to conform to the mainstream A versus B mentality. I don't think that's very wise or intelligent. Personally, I think that's not very intelligent. So I think the people telling me that I'm not intelligent are not being very intelligent themselves. But I don't want to be vicious. And I'm tired of feeling defensive about my point of view. I honestly don't know how to stand up for myself and assert my point of view because I have an unusual point of view, but I think it's full of wisdom. And a friend of mine moved to India and lives on an ashram. She's lived there for off and on since for many years, for like 15 years or something. And so she's telling me some of the wisdom about the consciousness of being in touch with nature. I feel like humans are losing touch with nature. That's why I love the artist Hunter Wasser. He was a philosopher and an artist. Look him up, Hunter Wasser, HundertWasser, Hunter Wasser. Um, Humans seem to be losing touch with that we are part of nature. We are not separate from nature. We are part of plants and animals and the whole ecosystem. And it's very soothing and calming to the nervous system to be out in nature, to be barefoot on the earth, to observe plants, flowers, trees, bees, all the different insects, all the different like spiders and mice and rats and all the animals that are out there in the ecosystem, the bunnies, the squirrels, the birds, all of the beautiful creatures. We are part of that, and to resonate with being in harmony. If more people were in harmony with their own natural human self, in addition to their own natural environment around them, they would probably be less violent towards each other. There would be less fear in the world and less violence in the world. So I do think that individual humans can choose to try to be more peaceful and harmonious with themselves, with their family, with their friends, with their local community. That does create a ripple effect. So perhaps that's my role, is to be an artist, to be in tune with nature, to try to spread positive energy around the world, to try to forgive myself and others when I get caught up in anger and fear, when I see other people getting caught up in anger and fear in my local community or whoever I'm interacting with online, because I do talk to lots of people online. I spread my art all over the internet, and I'm trying to be conscious of trying to have a positive, inspirational message so that I'm creating something helpful to the world and not adding to the drama and the fear and the anger and all of the duality of that seems to be leading nowhere. The duality doesn't seem, it seems to be a dead end to me to have duality. To think it's A versus B and one side has to win and one side has to lose doesn't really seem to be working. I don't think nature works that way. The ecosystem, it's true, there are predators, there are animals that hunt and kill and eat other animals, like, lions and tigers and bears that eat prey. And it is sad to see an animal getting eaten by another animal, but that is how they eat. That is part of nature. And then that gets recycled into the earth as fertilizer when an animal hunts and eats something and then poops on the ground, and then that turns into fertilizer for the earth, which grows green plants, which then animals eat. So, you know, the ecosystem, the whole thing. Well, humans, that's what we're doing. We are part of the ecosystem. So these are all the philosophical things I'm thinking about as I witness the duality. So I just wanted to share some of my thoughts about that and how I am trying to be a peaceful person that is resonating in harmony with nature and use my time on this earth in a positive, inspirational, creative way that feels authentic to me, that doesn't feel like I'm just being fake and conforming to something that I don't really believe in. I don't really want to pretend like I buy into some of the mainstream A versus B ideas on multiple levels. That's all. So yeah, thanks for listening. This is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring, and I'm going to go camping with a friend to the ocean. I haven't done that in a long time. And I'm going to do creative writing and just find me online, Goddess Kring, Shannon Kringen, if you are curious about my art, music, poetry, painting, photography, my art car, all that jazz. Bye for now.